And welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. We're going to talk about songbirds mysteriously dying across the country, but also in Pennsylvania. We're going to talk a little bit about like the world we're living in right now, because it's a bizarre place if you read the news. And then we're going to talk about the spelling bee last night. And then, as we end every week, a little Rotten Tomatoes was wrong. But first and foremost, most importantly, Mark, how are you feeling today?
Well, I like your comment where you're like, it's a weird world if you read the news. It is a weird world even if you don't read the news.
That's true.
But reading it just kind of makes it just ingrains it. Yeah, I'm good. You know, it's Friday. It's Friday. But, you know, you get to those points in life where, like, I got a really busy weekend. I got a lot of baseball to go watch and Uber my son to and travel back and forth. And so there are those points for all. I think in summertime it happens to a lot of people, depending on, you know, not how old your kids are, what you've got going on. But weekends can be very busy, and you kind of get back. And like Monday night, you get through work on Monday, and then Monday night is your first time to rest from back in the weekend. And it, you know, it happens to people. Depending, like if you're a skier. If you're big into basketball or wrestling, you know, you can have a lot of long weekends in the winter too. But I think the summertime, people kind of do those weekend trips, or you get your kids are doing something, or you're here and there, and weekends can be exhausting. And I think I'm running right into one. Of course, the highlight of the weekend, and you know this, if you ask my son in like American history, there are things like, you know, D-Day and the lunar landing and the Conor McGregor-Poirier fight number 3, which is tomorrow night. It is the MMA card of the year. I know you will be watching it. We will be watching it too.
Not to completely ignore your MMA comment and its historical significance.
Historical.
It is. There are people that like the weekend is their work, and going to work during the week is their ability to kind of like get away or relax. There are people whose lifestyle it's significantly more relaxing at work than it is at home.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
I have heard friends say to me, like, I need to go back to work so I can relax.
So I can sleep. And
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
You know, I was thinking the other night, this has nothing to do with anything. You know what I really need to do one night? I really need to just like watch bad movies until 6 o'clock in the morning and then just sleep. I haven't done it in a long time.
What's a bad movie? Why bad movies?
Well, just because, like, I don't know. They're just.
When you say bad, you mean just like the cable drama that's been on like 1,000
I want to say, like, historically, when I was younger and I'm up at 4:30 in the morning watching a movie, it's not an Academy Award winner. It's just, it's a guilty pleasure of some sort that you're.
Yeah. I can remember, this is random, like whenever I'd watch basketball, it'd always be on TNT or TBS. So then when I would fall asleep, I'd wake up at like 3:30 and it'd be on TNT and TBS. So it'd always be like Along Came a Spider, or it'd be like some absurd TNT or TBS movie that had I had no reason someone should be up at 3:30 in the morning watching it. But that's what I would wake up to after falling asleep after the basketball game.
I remember once I was living in Baltimore. I was probably early 20s, and it was whatever I was watching ended, and it was 3:20 in the morning, and I'm just, well, I don't know why I did it, but I was like, well, I should just flip through and see what else. And I flipped to a channel, and Shawshank was just starting.
That you were up the rest of the
and
night.
I was like, well, there goes that. There were lots of times back, and I was doing radio at night and stuff. I would read the morning newspaper before I went to bed. Because I would like that. It's Shawshank. It's over. It's 5:30. I'm like, oh, I bet the paper's here. And I would go read the paper. And then, and it is back when the newspaper was a big deal, and you were a morning newspaper reader, and especially pitching matchups and the sports page and stuff like that. When you woke up for the day and realized you had already read the paper before you went to bed, it was a little depressing.
Yeah, I would imagine. So let's start with this. The songbird dilemma. If you have not heard about this yet, look it up. It's sadly fascinating. They do not know what is happening to mid-Atlantic songbirds on the East Coast. And from reports, it's starting to kind of like make its way further and further across the country. I just read something about in Indiana, they're having issues now. So this is no longer confined. Like, this is no longer an East Coast problem, a mid-Atlantic problem. It's spreading. reports first emerged in Washington, D.C. in late May. Several birds that are being affected include the blue jay, the European starling, the common grackle. Do you ever see a common grackle?
Listen, when the common grackle starts dying off, we're all in trouble.
Yes. The American robin, the northern cardinal, the house finch, the house sparrow, eastern bluebird, red-bellied woodpecker, the Carolina chickadee, and the Carolina wren. So this is the other scary part about it too, is this is not like in one branch of songbirds. Like this is a songbird like totality issue, and it is bizarre, really bizarre. And what makes it even more bizarre is nobody has been able to say what's going on. They don't know what's actually happening.
No, I get it. And we've got to a point in society where people are so spoiled that we're just like, I just want the world the way I like it. And we can't, there's a whole like, oh, we'll just print more money and people lost their jobs. So we'll increase unemployment and we'll just do this and we'll give stimulus checks and and there are things like this are like, if we just can't save these birds, they got to figure out what's wrong. And you would think that the common grackle?
The common grackle. Do you know?
It's funny that you went through that whole. I've never heard of a grackle. It's a candy bar, isn't it?
A grackle? I've never heard of a grackle.
It's
crackle?
Crackle.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Which is incidentally on the list of underrated candy bars. The crackle and what's the other? The crunch, chocolate with the rice chips. Very underrated. Very underrated.
Only you at a time like this. America's songbirds are dying. And only you can
I turned it into a checkout line.
A checkout line.
Impulse buy.
Impulse buy. Only you.
That's interesting that you've noticed that.
So here's basically what's happening is their eyes are swelling shut. They're almost crusting up, shutting. So they're becoming blind. And then basically they're having dizziness. They're shaking their heads back and forth. And at that point, as a bird, I mean, if you can't see, and if you can't fly. I mean, it's over for you. And again, the creepiest part about this, there's several, like our game commission here in Pennsylvania and different people, the Audubon Society, are coming out and saying, do not put bird feed in your feeders anymore. We're not sure what's going on. We don't know if the feeders are helping to spread it or not. So they're encouraging people to not put bird feed into your feeders. It is like bizarro.
And this is where people come out and say, I like putting bird in my bird feeders. I'm going to do it anyway.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Are you implying that yes, I think there are people who are still putting feed in their feeders.
No, and I think there are people who are doing it ignorantly but I think we are in a point in society where people say, but I like putting bird feed in my bird feeders. I like when I wake up in the morning and I see a bird sitting on that thing. So I don't care if I'm killing them off. I'm an American and I have rights. And if I want to put bird in my bird feeder, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, no, and so it's a freaky thing too, because like it's not localized. So like when we talked a lot about pandemics and COVID and all this different stuff, and we talked about the strategies and what our governments did and all this. The crazy part though, like I know this sounds very corny, but with birds, like they just fly away and they cover greater distances, and it's like so it's very hard to like keep it localized. Like
yes.
The first reports were like in mid-May, and now like all the way like Indiana has like a significant amount of reports on this. Like you can't really contain this. Like
it's hard to herd birds.
Yeah, like that's kind of like the weird part about this is like how do you like we've talked about the chronic wasting disease with deer. Right. And not that like that's been easy to contain, but there is like a management process, and like Pennsylvania is not doing an awful job. Like they've kind of prohibited the spread the best that they could. You could never do
well, yeah, deer migration is a lot more trackable than bird migration.
Yes. So that's I don't know. Like I don't know how this ends.
I don't know either.
It'll be
unfortunately it could end very badly.
I agree with you. We also want to talk like Weird Weird World. So not only are songbirds dying off, and we can go however way you want to go with this. We also talked about just like climate change a little bit. We talked about how hot things have been. In California, 50 of 58 counties are in a drought emergency, which it is not uncommon for California to be in a drought. It is uncommon for California to have almost the entire state be in a drought this early into the season. So it's like, that's uncommon. You have lakes in Chicago that are literally hot enough to the point that it's killing off its wildlife. They're reporting like first time ever that they're having like mass casualties of wildlife because of the heat of the water.
All the Great Lakes are higher temperature than normal.
Yes.
I just read that.
And then I was telling you about a story I read about manatees in Florida. So most of the time, like sometimes like you'll see a report about a beached whale. You'll see a report about a seal that washes up on shore that has died. All these different things. One of the things that you very rarely see that I read about was manatees. Typically, they think it has something to do with the density in the waterways. And typically, like you just don't see a washed up manatee. Like it just doesn't happen. There have been more reports than ever before this year of manatees washing up on shore, basically just trying to find somewhere to go. And they're not sure if it's because of the temperature of the water. They're not sure if it's because they're looking for something to eat, whatever it may be. But the point in all of this is that if you kind of like read the tea leaves, like if you really start to like look through the reports and the news and stuff like that.
If you end this sentence with "the end is near,"
I'm not ending it with "the end is near," but what I'm saying is like it is a weird time. It is bizarre.
Yeah, it's a dangerous time. The world is changing and the climate is changing. And when you talk to the long-term people, they're like, species come and go and species go extinct all the time. But kind of when you're watching it happen, it's I don't know, scary might not be the right word, but it's disturbing. You know, if all the manatees if all the manatees are climbing up on shore because they're dying in the water, that's not good.
No, it's pretty crazy. The other one,
how's that for
analysis?
Lucid. That's not good.
Analysis? No,
I
agree with you.
That's brilliant.
We also had, I didn't read this, but we had a coworker tell us that the other day it was Miami, Florida, and a town in Norway had the exact same temperature.
And the Norway town was in the Arctic Circle.
Yes. And they had the same temperature the other day.
Oh, yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. Like you and I have talked about this before. I think climate change has always been like a little, climate change is real. Climate change matters. I have always thought that the significance of it, or kind of what was coming down the pipe, like what was coming, was always vastly exaggerated. That was just my opinion.
Because when we were young, California was going to break off and float out into the Pacific.
And so I've always felt like it was exaggerated, and like it's not that it couldn't happen, but the idea, like these predictions of like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, like it just never came to fruition, never happened. There are different things happening right now that I don't think it's the end. I don't think like my biggest thing is I hate when people say a climate crisis, because I've never felt that way. Like I've never felt like it was a crisis. However, reading kind of the tea leaves and you see some of the stuff that's going on right now, there is a definite shift. And I am curious to see like how big of a shift that is, because like everything else I always talk with you about, there is a tipping point to everything.
Well, and I agree with you. Part of the issue is, I think this is a two-pronged problem. Number one is we have been told our whole lives of these crises.
Right.
And they've never really materialized.
Right.
The second thing is, I think for the first time, at least it seems like, for the first time in history, people living in 2021 could care less about the future generations. And they're like, we're here now, we're going to live now, and I think the whole like leaving things better than you found it, I don't think that exists anymore. I don't think people care.
I think there's an idea, like when you say how they found it, I think that like I'm going to speak for my generation, and not everyone in my generation is like me, I can assure you. But I will say for our generation, there is a feeling that like we did not find this. Like we are inheriting something that other people did good on or did bad on. But the point is it was already built. And so I think like for our generation, there's a sense of like, I don't know how well they were looking out for us. So what are we really looking out for then? Like if nobody looked out for us, then like, what are we doing here? Like we got to look out for ourselves. And so I've always felt that like, it's like it is easy to come into something and you get to build it from scratch, or you get to be a part of that process. And the point I'm making is like, if you were born after like 1985, how much of that process was done? Like how much of that was kind of completed in the town you lived in or the city you were at? So there is like, when you say like leaving it on, or like, I don't know if we really built it. Like, I don't know if it was really ours to leave on or to continue.
It doesn't matter if you build it. Nobody, we didn't build the earth, but there was always.
But it wasn't instilled in us.
No, I agree, because the greed generation had showed up before you guys got here. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, I just don't think people care anymore. I think they're like, I'm going to live. And I think we see it with our older and older politicians. Not that they didn't have old politicians back then, but you know, they're trying to win elections and they're trying to get reelected, and they realize that these laws that they, like Joe Biden just gave away I was going to say a jillion, and I don't even know if that's an exaggeration. There's just so much money that we just printed. And what are the long-term ramifications of this? Joe Biden's not going to be alive for the long-term ramifications.
No.
So I don't want to say, what does he care? But what does he care?
This is like small town PA stuff, like especially North Central PA. Like for your generation and the generation before you, like if you saw a business or a building, like, yeah, that was Joey's dad, or that was so-and-so. But like for my generation, a lot of that's not around anymore. Like it wasn't somebody's business or whatever. Like it's just a chain, or it's just, you know, a company that came in from out of state. And so there's not this deep rooted connection to leave on as you're expressing.
No, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
So I do wonder, like, I agree with you, like that idea of leaving it on for the next generation, or like, it just feels like that's dissipated. Like it doesn't feel like it's a real thing. Now, fortunately, like in North Central PA, it's much more common than probably other places, but I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, and I think we've got kind of tangented too, but because the world started changing so fast, and now with technology, it's changing so fast that I don't think that the nostalgia and the keeping of traditions is nearly as cool as like, what's the next best thing, and trying to stay up with the latest and the greatest. And for people that are always looking for something new, like going to something that's familiar and trying to keep a tradition alive just doesn't seem, it almost works in opposite of their mindset.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And it's not all negative. I saw today that pandas.
Oh, it's all negative.
It's not all negative.
All negative.
Pandas, because they're very crucial. Pandas are no longer on the endangered species list. Did you see that?
Is it because they're extinct?
No, there are enough pandas now in the world. They've been moved to vulnerable, but they're no longer endangered.
So it's like critical condition to serious condition.
Correct. Yeah. So it's not all negative. Pandas are making a comeback.
So as long manatees are in trouble, but pandas are good.
Manatees are hurting right now. Pandas are making a comeback. They're thriving. You know what it is? It's the stuffed animals and like the logo and stuff.
Really?
Like it's hard. I think it's hard to make like a cute manatee logo. All the wildlife stuff has the panda with like the shoot of bamboo, and everyone's like, oh, like it's a panda. It's hard to do that with manatees. It's hard to do that with manatees.
Why? A manatee is like a.
Do you know what a manatee? You know what it's called?
No.
A sea cow.
I thought it was called a manatee.
It is, but they're also known as the sea cow.
So what's wrong with that?
I'm just saying a sea cow.
You saying cows are ugly? You saying cows have a negative connotation?
Compared to a panda? What's the context?
I read an article somewhere where someone got killed by a panda bear because they like went up to pet it.
Oh, they're a bear.
And they're like, dude, it's still a bear.
Right, it's a bear.
I mean, I know it's different color, and all we see on video is them like being slow and eating bamboo, and there's one in every child's bedroom.
Right.
But it's a bear.
There's an incredible comedy skit about, he goes, if there was a race of humans or a group of humans and all they eat was bamboo, he's like, they shouldn't survive. Like that's like, just eat something else. Like, what do you do? So his whole scheme is like, we're helping this animal survive that all it eats is bamboo. Like
it shouldn't survive.
It's not the great. But anyway, they're off the endangered species list. Go ahead and thank Wise Markets.
Thank you to Wise Markets. As we talk about local and tradition, and since 1912, Wise Markets, founded in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, the grocery store chain of Pennsylvania, North Central Pennsylvania, and the surrounding states. So thank you to Wise for all your grocery needs. You can call ahead and order. If you're looking for employment of varying levels, whether you're a truck driver, everywhere from cashier to management to whatever, if you're a high school kid or you're an adult or whatever. Wise Markets Pharmacy, bakery, lottery, what did I leave out? Floral, they have everything. So
Anything.
All your grocery needs and then some. Check out your local Wise Markets and thank them for sponsoring us here at the Midday Show at NorthcentralPa.com and all that we do here at the site to keep you guys up and abreast on things that are happening in our region. There's a $25 Wise gift card, a $50 Wise gift card, and a $100 Wise gift card. Also a gift card from the Moon and Raven, Eat and Run Catering, and the Break Room. And to enter, all you need to do is join the Midday Show group. Go to Facebook, type in Midday Show. It will come up. Join our group, and you have a 1 in whatever chance of getting your name spit out by the computer.
That's pretty good.
It's a good spit. Why not?
Well, no, the first one was better.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you're going to be able to duplicate that again. That was legit.
There must have been a second spitter.
Today's might have been.
Do you know that episode?
On Seinfeld.
Seinfeld. Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
Today's random winner from the Midday Show Facebook group is George G. Kitchens the third.
This is the most what word?
Exciting name.
I wasn't going to say established. The most renowned
name.
The most prestigious. That's the word I'm looking for. The most prestigious winner we've had, George G. Kitchens the third.
The third. It's the G in the third, just like, because really George Kitchens, it's amazing if you take out the G in the third. George Kitchens doesn't sound very what's the word we're looking for?
A prestigious.
Yeah, prestigious. Like George Kitchens, like he's a nice guy. I know George.
Yeah, almost
like George Kitchens down the street. I know George. But George G. Kitchens the third, he's up on the hill.
You know what would be great? If the G stood for gorgeous, and then instead of Gorgeous George, it was George Gorgeous.
George Gorgeous Kitchens the third.
Because there was that famous wrestler, Gorgeous George.
Gorgeous George was
you didn't know that?
Wrestler. Why would I know that?
Because I don't know. You're worldly.
Let's see what George Gorgeous Kitchens the third wins.
You never heard of Gorgeous George?
No.
Oh my gosh, what rock did you live under? There, the underside spin. I went with the underspin. It's going to work. I think it did.
Wow. What are we doing then?
I mean, I think it's a tie. We're going to give tie goes to the winner, $50 gift card for Gorgeous George.
All right.
There we go.
George G. Kitchens the third.
We need to have, I mean, it's stuck right on top of the thing. How many times have we spun that? That's never happened before.
The moral of the story today is that if you want to win a gift card on the wheel, come with a prestigious name. If you got a middle initial, if you're a third, if you're not, none of that junior stuff. You got to be a third.
What else? I disagree with that because this is the first one like this the computer's given to us. So the computer must be like, I don't like these names. But every now and then it's like, I got to do it if it's going to be random.
The prestigious name, the computer's just like, they don't need it.
Yeah, they don't need
good. Like George G. Kitchens the third's good.
What's this guy need? He's got like an inheritance. What does he need? Does he need a $50 Wise gift card? But he has a $50 Wise gift card. Congratulations to George.
Yeah, nicely done. Spelling bee yesterday, last night. Can you say her name? I tried to listen to it like 3 different times. Zayla Avant-Garde.
No, they pronounce her last name Avant-Garde.
Avant-Garde.
Just like the
but is her first name Zayla?
I think.
I want to say Zayla.
She's from Louisiana.
She's from Louisiana. She won the spelling bee. I don't know all the details. You told me she is the first Black girl to win the national spelling bee.
Yes.
That is fantastic.
She also worked Bill Murray's name into the final. If you Google the last one,
Murraya.
It was something about
Murraya. And
she asked some question about, is it, I don't remember how she said it, of an American comedian.
Okay.
And yes, it was.
So here's the other crazy part, and I don't know how much you've seen into this. She is a Guinness World Record holder. Because I saw on social media, I think it was Instagram, they showed some of the tricks that she can do. She can ride a unicycle and reverse juggle like kickballs. So instead of juggling, reverse dribbling, she bounces them 3 at a time. as she's unicycling forward. It's incredible.
Okay, this is going to be the dumbest tangent I ever went off. Have you ever seen like a real life street performer?
Yeah.
They are the most talented people on earth.
Yes.
And they used to, like in Baltimore on weekends and stuff down at the Inner Harbor, they would have those. I've never seen a guy unicycle reverse dribble. I've seen them unicycle and juggle flaming things. And I mean, these people, and they do it for tips.
Yeah, really gifted.
And we're sitting there and you're just watching. They have just a bucket.
Yeah.
And we're like, go throw $20 in that guy's bucket because this is the best entertainment we've gotten. If you are ever anywhere and there's a street performer, sit down and watch for a half hour. It will be the best half hour of your day.
No, they're the best. I mean, that's the best. Well, no, probably not true. For some people, that's like some of the best parts of Vegas. Like if you're in Vegas at the right time, like in the street performance and stuff, is fantastic.
It
really good.
The talent of these people, and it's one of the things. If you walk, like, have you ever been in the city where you see kids playing drums on like buckets and trash? They are immensely talented.
Some of the singers and stuff that they do now, because now they have the soundboards and they can like loop it and they can do all that stuff as they're going. It's pretty fantastic.
It's
pretty great. You have to really hide. If you're talented now, you have to really hide. Like if you're talented and you're willing to put your stuff out there, you have to really, really hide to not.
By the way, we are probably eligible for the Guinness Book for the most episodes of the Midday Show. I'll bet no one has done more episodes than we have.
I would agree with that.
We should be in Guinness.
You can't juggle.
No.
Can you ride? Have you ever tried to ride a unicycle?
No.
I can juggle. I cannot ride a unicycle.
Can you juggle well?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Like I'm not bragging.
So you could like 5 minutes, you could sit there and juggle.
Oh yeah. And I can do one hand, like I can do 2 up, 1 down, like I can do behind the back, like under my leg. Like I'm pretty good. But the point I'm making is it took me years to get good at it.
Are you just like watching TV and is that like
I used to do it for like hand-eye coordination and like dexterity, like for basketball. But here's the point I'm making. She holds the Guinness World Record for riding a unicycle. Anybody who knows how to juggle will tell you it takes a long time.
And she's 14.
It takes a long time to like master it. And you're stationary. Like the first 2 years you're doing it, like you're not moving. Like you're like focused in on it and like you're standing still. To ride a unicycle in reverse juggle at the age of 14 is more mind-blowing than people realize.
Well, it just shows how people's brains work. Like for whatever reason, her brain can just do it.
Yeah.
It's like people like gymnasts. If you hear the term that they use is like air awareness. Like if you flip off a diving board, like I have no, like I
don't
can't,
know where you are.
I just kind of here's the water and I get to the water.
Yeah.
But like these gymnasts, and I'm sure the professional divers and stuff like that, they're like, they have air awareness and they know where they're at. And like squirrels, have you ever watched that?
Oh yeah, the squirrel stuff's unbelievable.
Have you seen the dude on YouTube that does the makes the backyard things? Yeah. And but yeah, so somehow her brain can, well, the unicycle, it's just become natural and she can just do it and her body just gets it.
But
and her brain can keep everything going without focusing on one too much.
I guess the point I'm making is there's an extra level there because there's a sim. What's the word I'm looking for? There's like a simpatico, like there's like a sympathy or a rhythm, a balance, because to be on a unicycle and to be able to like not sway, because the hardest part about juggling is not going one way or the other too far. Right? Because as I'm going back and forth, that's why being stationary makes it so much easier.
Okay.
Right? But if I'm walking and doing it, most people when they walk and juggle, they'll start to veer right or they'll start to veer left because the last thing you're thinking about is that trajectory forward.
I can see that.
So the significance of what she's pulling off on a unicycle is like her body's integrated with her brain and that ability to just move forward and not veer or lean. I'm telling you, like, it's not easy.
Listen. I mean, in her brain, she won the National Spelling Bee, so her brain is better than most.
Yeah. So
but it's just like her brain can just do this. And I mean, I'm sure like how many people have tried, but like her brain is just more advanced than most people, and it just adjusts. And I mean, that's my explanation.
Here, real quick, before we go on to Rotten Tomatoes was wrong, the spelling bee. This has always been my thing. I'm really impressed with the spelling bee. Like, I'm not taking anything away from anybody who has competed in a spelling bee or has won a spelling bee. It's memorization.
No.
You don't think so? What percentage of it is memorization?
It's about, that's why they always ask the Latin roots and the...
So what percentage of it is memorization?
That's a fair question, and I don't know.
Okay.
But they decipher a lot of these words.
100% I agree with that. I'm super impressed. I think some people think it's like a real... For me, I'm astonished at their memorization, but I think most people are astonished at how like smart, as if like they're solving it.
That they can cure cancer. Then.
Yes, but I don't think that's the case. I'm amazed at the memorization and the ability to remember these rules and attach them to words and the bases and the phrases, and like there's a memorization side to this that blows my mind.
I think it would be fascinating to see, because for a lot of these nerdy kids, this is sports.
Yeah.
This is their competitive sport. And how many of these parents are just as crazy as the soccer moms and the Little League dads and did you ever, as people talk about how crazy youth sports are, and the reason they talk about that is because they are crazy. Did you ever see the kid who fainted in the middle of his? Mm-hmm. Nobody went to his aid. This is like a 12-year-old kid who passes out on national TV. And they treated him like a golf ball. They're like, nobody touch him. The clock is running. No one touch him. The kid came to, stood up, and finished the word. And like, God forbid we make sure the kid's okay. He just passed out, which is not normal, no matter how much pressure you're under.
Sure.
Kid just passed out. Don't touch him until the clock runs out, because he's on the clock. And like, there is nothing in youth sports, they would never, if a kid stand at the foul line, and everybody knows this now, the rule has always been 10 seconds, but it's now because of the Greek that everyone knows that it's 10 seconds because they count it out loud every time.
Right.
If they hand a ball to a kid at the foul line and he's 12 years old and he takes 2 dribbles and he crumbles to the floor, they're not going to say, stay away from him, he's got 7 more seconds to shoot. But in the spelling bee, don't touch the kid because someone may whisper a letter in his ear.
No, it's pretty crazy.
Yes.
It is intense, much more intense than people
and
realize.
Insane.
Rotten Tomatoes was wrong. Every Friday, we like to pick a movie, and we use Rotten Tomatoes as kind of like the baseline.
Because they are the gold standard of that.
Absolutely. So you picked a movie for us today, and you said that, first of all, I was disappointed that you thought there was a chance I had never seen this movie.
Sometimes you're never. Have you seen Pulp Fiction?
No.
The defense rests.
It's one movie.
Sure.
I'm just saying it's one movie.
I'm aware of that.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was clicking through and I looked at this, and according to the critics, National Treasure was less than 50%. I want to say it was 46%. I have never, ever, ever met anyone who did not like National Treasure. It is historical. Like you can't help but learn something. It's like it's almost a nationwide scavenger hunt. But you're learning about American history while they're being chased by the bad guys. There's humor. The computer sidekick is great, whatever his name is. He's great. There's a hot chick in it. What is it missing? It's got family tension. It's got good. It's the bad guys. You hate the bad guys. I don't know what it's missing, and it got 46%.
Yeah. So the great part about this movie, and you kind of hinted at it. The role people are like perfect.
Perfect.
Sean Bean as the villain is fantastic. Like, he's perfect for it. Diane Kruger is
she the hot chick?
She's very attractive.
Okay.
But also too, like, she's funny. Like, she plays like she's not playing an oblivious person. But her reactionary, like you need somebody who can because she's reacting. You have to react shocked every time something else happens, and she does very well. The whole part of this is,
I even love John Voight as the dad.
Yeah, no, Voight's good.
He is very lovable.
The part that makes this movie is Justin Bartha, and he is the sidekick.
He's fantastic.
He's really good. And
you just had to pull up the cast. You don't know this off the top of your head.
Well, no, I do. But the reason I know Justin Bartha is because he was in the trailer for The Hangover. And I was so excited that Justin Bartha was going to be in The Hangover. And I was like, he's hilarious. He was in National Treasure. He's hilarious. He's finally going to be in a comedy movie with like these other like Galifianakis and Cooper and like all these guys and Ed Helms. And then you go to see The Hangover, and after the first 15 minutes of the movie, he disappears because he's the guy that they're looking for.
He's Doug.
He is Doug.
I never put that together.
Yes. He is Doug. So the hilarious part, so I'm watching it and then The Hangover, and then The Hangover ends, and I'm like, I felt so bad for Justin Bartha because I was like, he's finally going to get to be in this like headlining comedy, and then he ends up playing the dude who's not in the movie for an hour and a half.
You didn't feel bad that he was almost sunburned to death?
Who, Doug?
Yeah.
No,
there was no sympathy for that.
He has bigger financial issues because I honestly thought The Hangover was his movie. When you watch the trailer, you think it's a Justin Bartha movie. And then the movie starts, and 15 minutes in, he's disappeared, and you don't see him for another hour and a half.
And you think when he read the script and auditioned, he didn't know that?
I think he probably knew it. I don't know what your point is. Like, you don't like. I was excited to see Justin Bartha. I didn't.
You
get to
feel
see
bad
Justin
for
Bartha.
you. You don't feel bad for him.
A little bit of both.
And now we've added, along with Ryan Reynolds and Ryan Gosling, we have this Justin Bartha man crush that you have. Because I've never gone to a movie and been disappointed I didn't see a dude more.
So I just Googled into the thing, and one of the first things that comes up is the IMDb link. And it has under it, the budget was $100 million. What did they spend $100 million?
For National Treasure?
Yes. So see, I had the same reaction. What could they have possibly spent $100 million on? It couldn't have been on like
marketing.
Maybe it couldn't have been on effects.
Well, I mean, they had the boat frozen. I mean, they were up north at the very beginning when they were looking for the Charlotte, and then they had where it was buried under the city, and
maybe $100 million.
That's more than I would have guessed.
Back then, this isn't $100 million. 2020.
It was 04.
Yes, it says National Treasure 2004.
But it was a Disney movie. Disney's got money.
I get that, but $100 million to make that movie. I just don't think there's enough. Like, you and I could go to the city of Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. right now and film 2/3 of it.
Yeah. I mean, the part up north must have been tough, I guess.
Okay.
But I'm shocked. I would have said 1/3 of that.
Maybe they had to actually pay the museums in the cities to have.
They had to steal the real Declaration of Independence.
Maybe they actually did use the real Declaration of Independence.
There's no way.
I know, but what else are you spending $100 million?
It's a very valid question. I just want you to go around this weekend and ask every person you see if they like National Treasure, and if you find one person that says no, I will give you $1.
I mean, I could ask. So here's the point: 50% is not high enough.
46. Now the audience was like 75 or 80. The audience was much higher, but the critics gave it 46%, which just goes to show sometimes critics are dumb.
I don't disagree with that. I'm trying to think if there's something I didn't like about the movie. There is a cheesiness to it.
Well, yes. But that's part of what makes it lovable.
Correct. And there is like a you have to go into a moment of belief, right? Like you have to believe that you could actually steal the Declaration, which I'll tell you what, after this past January, all of a sudden
just go in the front door.
Maybe you just go in the front door of different museums or different Capitol buildings, and maybe it's not
dress up like a Viking and you're right there.
Maybe it's not as hard as we think it is, but you do have to suspend belief for some of this stuff.
But the way they all explained it, like they came up with, it was clever. It's very clever.
I enjoyed it.
I even liked National Treasure 2. I thought that was good too.
National Treasure 2 as well. So
I'm even disappointed there wasn't a 3.
Maybe we'll reach out to Justin Bartha. Maybe he'll come on the show.
Maybe.
And that's not a knock on Justin Bartha. I just feel like I don't. It's not a knock. I think we might be able to get to him.
Maybe.
Like when you wanted to do the McLovin Day, and you're like, maybe we could get McLovin. Maybe we could get Justin Bartha. Maybe
we should look into that.
I don't.
Let's talk to the chickens.
Is Justin Bartha the Mendoza line for the Rhea app, the celebrity dating app? Remember, we were saying what is the Mendoza line?
Hold
on.
The Rhea now app? I need to ask this. Did we try to get on the Rhea app?
We were trying to find somebody who had enough followers to get on the Rhea.
You don't think we have enough followers?
We're getting there. We're up to almost 800 members.
We're knocking on the door.
Almost up to 8. If I were you, don't wait for it. Are you waiting for us to get onto the Rhea app? Don't wait for us to get onto the Rhea app. You don't think we should wait? Real quick, comments. We got a few. Kelly, they not, but the thinking is if it's contagious, many diseases are spread at bird feeders because it's where they congregate, or bacteria can also be shed there. So even though they're not sure how it's carried or how it's passed on, the idea of it is you got to find places what are the congregation points, stuff like that. And obviously bird feeders are one of them. Crystal Alexander, that's not true. People do care. Have you been paying attention to the cleaning up of waterways? Take the Chesapeake, for example. There are lots of efforts to clean up. I'm all for doing our part to take care of what God has given us. However, we need to be very careful through listening to climate change alarmists.
I think there are people who care.
I agree with that.
I think as a society, we don't care.
I agree with that. I agree with both of those statements. And I do, and the point she lives there, the waterway stuff is legit.
Yes.
That we have done a nice job, our internal waterways, especially on the East Coast, we have made significant strides cleaning it up and doing our part to try to make it happen. Some of the stuff for the Chesapeake is amazing what we've done.
I agree with that.
And some of it's simple, even just planting trees next to waterways and helping kind of spruce it up, and it's legit. So yes, to Crystal's point, we have done some really good stuff. We saved the pandas.
And you know what we could do? Because planting trees by waterways is important. So we can go to the Loyalsock Creek in Montoursville and cut down all the trees by the waterway so planes can land that don't fly there anyway.
Yeah.
It's a good plan, don't you think?
It could work.
Oh, it did, because the trees are gone.
Yeah, no, they're not there. Well, now we're planting them more and more. Have you seen the initiatives that they've done in state? They're basically you plant trees and you get X amount from the state, and then the state comes and takes care of them for you.
So you're saying we're so advanced here in Lycoming County that around the world they're realizing you need to plant trees and we're cutting them down?
Yeah, I mean, possibly.
Okay. Good.
Maybe my generation's not the negative one.
Maybe your generation's smarter than mine.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that either.
I don't know about that. So here, Lisa says, you've seen grackles. They're the noisy blackbirds that swarm in hundreds or thousands in the fall. So when you see them making the motion, you ever seen
the videos? That's a grackle?
That's a grackle.
You know what I like more than grackles?
What do you like more than grackles?
Crackle.
A crackle? Liana would disagree. She's a crunch.
It's the same thing, but it's just different.
When I was a kid, I always got the
Isn't one Hershey's and one Nestle's? Isn't that?
Oh, no idea. I don't know.
I think it's the same but different.
When I was a kid, I'd always get the Crunch Bars because Shaq was their sponsor. So Shaq would be hanging on the rim on the Nestle Crunch Bar.
Because your game and Shaq's game are mirror images.
Identical.
They are.
When I was growing up, they thought I was going to be tall. Because my mom's twin brother was 6'6", 6'7". And then she has two other brothers that are both.
How old were you when they got to the point 4?
Well, the problem was when I was in 4th or 5th grade, I was pretty solid. I kind of tapped out. Once I was in 7th or 8th grade, I just never grew again. Tapped.
Tone that story.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it would be interesting to have a taste test between the crackle and the Nestle Crunch. And because that's not your.
No, I would be a bad test for this because Bunch of Crunch is my movie.
Is it Crunch and Munch?
Crunch a Bunch.
I've never heard of Crunch a Bunch.
Have you been to a movie theater?
Once or twice.
Okay, so when you go to a movie theater, they have all your choices. So like Good and Plenty, and like what's some other ones? Okay,
I know Good and Plenty. I know. Yep.
Okay, one of them in the box is called Bunch of Crunch, and what it is it's a crunch bar, but instead of it being in a solid bar, it's like little balls of Crunch Bar.
Huh.
And it's called Crunch a Bunch. You've never seen this.
I never knew they existed until
I'm
right
not
now.
making fun of you because you've never seen it. I'm making fun of you because I know for a fact it's been right in front of your face and you've never seen it.
Crunch a Bunch. Never knew it.
You couldn't find a movie theater that didn't have Bunch of Crunch right now. I bet you almost all movie theaters have Bunch of Crunch. Hobot's with me. Bunch of Crunch was the best.
I believe you.
Shocker.
I do not know Bunch.
So the point I'm making is I would not be good for the taste test because like I would know immediately which one is the.
Well, then I will take one for the team, and I will get a Crackle, and I will get a Nestle Crunch, and I will do a taste test.
I'm trying to think if there's any other ones. I don't think there's any other ones
like that.
Crackle and Crunch.
No, they are the same but different. It's like in the cereal brand, it's like Honey Smacks and Super Golden Crisp.
Okay.
That they're just the same but different.
Do they still make those?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay, well, see,
I hope. I don't know. I say that. I haven't had one in a long time. I hope.
Like at the big outlets, like the Sam's and the Costco's and stuff, like they're not part of their like.
No. You got to go to Wise Markets.
Okay. And you have to buy your Golden Crisp or your.
And when I was a kid, it was Super Sugar Crisp.
Golden Crisp.
But then they changed it because when people they're like, we can't put sugar in the title because then, so it all of a sudden one day I showed up in the grocery store aisle and it became Super Golden Crisp.
So Golden Crisp is the one with the bear?
Yes.
And Honey Smack had the frog?
Yes.
Okay. Was it a bear on Golden Crisp?
It is.
I think it was like a brown
Very
bear
good.
or something.
It is a bear. Okay. Not a panda bear.
Not a panda bear.
But a bear.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we can do that taste test sometime. Anything else before the weekend? Anything you want to give people a clue on?
No, I think, are we going to get wet again? I just want to remind people, Conor McGregor fight. It is one of the pinnacles of American history, if you ask my son and his friends.
He came out, he said he's not a celebrity.
Who?
McGregor.
He's lying.
He kind of pulled like the little, kind of like the Charles Barkley, like I'm not a role model.
Well, there's a difference between I'm not a role model and I'm not a celebrity.
I understand that. But Charles Barkley very clearly is somebody who, whether he wanted to be or not, was a role model.
Correct.
And the point I'm making is McGregor came out and basically is trying to play the same card. Like he's very clearly a celebrity, whether he wants to be or not.
And I can't give you any details. My son says the undercard is great. My son said the main event in the non-main
Does Jimmy
card
need his own MMA show?
Is great. He could. Him and his friend could sit there and it's.
What do you like? I have a ton of respect for MMA. Like I've told you, like about different people. And what do you like when they talk about MMA? Like give me a 10-second conversation. Like what is something Jimmy would say to you? Like what is his analysis of Conor McGregor?
Well, they talk about.
Is it deeper than just that Conor McGregor is cool?
They talk about strikers and submissions and jiu-jitsu, Brazilian, because the Brazilian guys are all jiu-jitsu.
So your son's not just watching
and what their submission is, because there's different. Obviously there's rear naked choke and there's arm bars and that. Yes.
So your son's not just watching it like people are pummeling people. Like he's actually watching the strategy and like what they're doing.
Yes, and because with that generation, they've seen all the old fights on YouTube. Like we were somewhere. We were at a Little League game, an all-star game the other day watching, and he's like, here, this is the guy on the undercard. And he shows me a 20-second clip of a guy, and he's like, and then a couple seconds later, he's like, and he's fighting this guy. So because of the internet, you can go back in time and see all these things, which your generation knows. My generation, we can find it all now. It's neat what we can go back and discover.
Right.
But at the time, if you didn't see it on SportsCenter or you didn't see it on This Week in Baseball, or you didn't it was never coming back again.
I think it's cool that a 13-year-old can talk about it and it's not just like someone's pummeling somebody's face in. like that they would actually be talking about like the historical relevance or the strategy during the fight or like things like that.
What is fascinating about that generation, the kids now, as opposed to yours and mine,
Right.
is they will talk at length about sports or games or whatever and not even need to watch the game because they can see the highlights. They can do, they can grab the follow-up. Now, last night, my son watched the entire NBA game too because it's the finals and,
Right.
he's of that age. He loves sports. He loves basketball. But when he was like 11, he would go through clips of the 10 greatest power forwards in NBA history, but he wouldn't watch an NBA game.
Right.
So it's different how they educate themselves. My generation was baseball cards.
Yeah.
That's how we learned who was good and who was old and who was good, and because
Right.
we read the back of baseball cards. So yeah, it is different. But it is like if you came over to watch the fights, they could in I say 15 minutes, quicker than that, they can show you Conor McGregor's 10 best knockouts.
Yeah.
And this is what he did in his submissions. And these guys, is he a grappler? Is he a striker? Does he want to get? And they're really, but all the information's at their hands. So this is what they study.
Yeah, pretty neat.
It's
Pretty
fun.
cool.
And I am pumped. And again, I know I've said this before, and I know people watch and hang on our every word. The girl fights are great.
Yeah,
They are fit. They're not like, oh, here's a girl, like we're going to go to the fridge. Like and I think we were discussing this. I think there's a level of the guys are better at defense.
Mm-hmm.
So the girls, it's just more offense, but they really, really do damage. The girl fights are really, really good.
All right. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. Thank you to Weiss Markets for being our title sponsor. How many times did you go this week? 10, 12?
Not that many, but I
down
2 or
week.
3 or 4. What is today? Today's Friday. I've probably been there 3 times. I'll either be there today or tomorrow, getting ready for the baseball weekend, and I got to load up and stock up. And if we don't get, we should get a cut of the MMA money because I just gave him as good of a plug as I could, and I didn't even.
Everyone's watching it now.
It's worth it.
Everyone's watching it now.
It is. If you're going to go out on the town, unless you're going to go to a local establishment that gets it. But if you're going to go out and have dinner and get some drinks, and you're going to drop $60 or whatever it is, $65 for the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Have a couple friends over and watch it, and you will. Maybe not the best thing about it, but they use the same ring all night.
Sure.
So there are blood stains. It's like Gladiator. The first guy bleeds all over, and the blood, they dry it up.
Yeah.
But the stain's still there for all night.
Yeah. You're kind of.
I will be. I will be.
into
And I'm peppering the kids with questions. Well, has he been the champion before? Who did he lose to? And then they give me the history of it, and it's a good time.
All right.
I'm ready.
All right. Nice. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all your local news.
Oh, I got one more question for you before we
Go
go.
ahead, quickly.
Because are the Bucks dead in the water?
No, because they could easily win 2 in Milwaukee. So there's my quick take.
So you think it's going back to Phoenix, 3-2 Phoenix?
2-2 Phoenix. No,
Are they?
You say,
are they going 2-2, 1-1-1, or are they going 2-3-2?
They're going 2-2, 1-1-1.
The finals used to always go 2-3-2.
Yeah, but it hasn't been like that for a decade. It's been a long.
Are you sure?
Yeah. It's
Oh,
been a long
okay,
time
good for
since
them.
It's been because they did that for flights. They did that for flying and timing. But now in today's age, it doesn't matter.
And Milwaukee and Phoenix ain't that far
And I'll
apart.
tell you what, the 2-3-2 is not fair. It does not give the advantage to the higher seed.
Sure it does.
No, it doesn't.
Because the 2-3.
We can talk about that another time. But it
Okay,
doesn't.
we will.
But
And you'll be wrong.
But no, Milwaukee's not dead in the water. Phoenix obviously has the upper hand, but to say they're dead in the water, Milwaukee could easily win the next 2.
So I want a prediction. Is it 2-2 going to Game 5, or does Phoenix steal one on the road?
I think it's 3-1 Phoenix because I just think Phoenix is better.
Okay.
But if we're flying back to Phoenix and it's 2-2, I am not
You're
shocked,
not shocked
at all. But this is the other thing about the series. I'm not shocked if it's Game 4 and Phoenix has a chance to close it out. It's not. But I think Phoenix has the upper hand. I just think because Milwaukee gets to go home for 2, to say they're dead in the water, I don't think they're dead. But they're hurting.
But if you had to make a call, you say it's going to be 3-1 heading to Game 5.
I think it's going to be 3-1 heading to Game 5. It's hard. Once you get to the finals, there's a sense of pride. They're playing in front of their home crowd. It is hard to sweep a finals. The best teams the best, you just don't sweep the finals.
It's going to be really hard for Phoenix to win Game 3.
It's going to be
Game 3 is good. Game 4 is the one they're going to have an emotional chance.
Yes, but even Game 4, like if Phoenix goes up 3-0, Milwaukee's going to be like they're going to unload the clip. You know what I'm saying? Like once you're at the finals, it's hard to sweep a final. The best teams ever don't sweep the finals.
No, I'm with you.
They just don't do it.
Faux.
It's hard. It's hard. Yeah, that is true.
Which didn't go faux. It went faux.
Yes, it did. It's difficult.
All right.
You guys enjoy your weekend, and we will see you on Monday.
Later.